So then later this week, we're going to be discussing the exam, the final exam. I'll share a PDF document of questions from prior semesters, and then we can solve it here together. You can come with questions. You can have solved it on your own first, and then here we can excuse me, we can discuss the answers. Okay. Yeah. So also, I have shared with you the form that the TAs are going to be using to grade. So I wanted to share that with you and go over it. Can you see my screen? Right. Yeah. So this is the form that I need you to fill out, everybody. Just the section 1. Right, if you could please, just one person from the team can go to this form and fill it out. One submission per team, right? And you can use your Google email, right? And which can be used for logging in, so that if you don't know what to answer just yet, you can come back later and complete it. But basically, the first part is fairly simple. You do need to create a group, right? If you go to your Canvas, you go to People, and you go to Groups, right? You can create groups here, and it looks like several students have already done that. You can create your own group, and then students can can join that group. So for instance, here we have just a group of 1. Here's a group of 4. So create a group, and then we'll know to give everybody in that group the same grade. So in the form, if you could provide the name of the group, okay? And then the team members. And hopefully these team members will be the same as the one are in the group. But it has happened that students change from one team to another, right at the last minute. Right. So this will be the official. This will be the official students in that group. Also, this form allows you to also provide if one of the students is a different section, right? You can provide what the section is here. Okay, you can select. Actually, I'm going to make this a drop down, so you can select, which section they are, right? So you can say team member 1, the name, their name, and then their section. Team member 2 and their section. Team member 3 name and the section. Team member 4 and the section. 5 and the section. Okay. Also, if you could provide the name of your project, it's optional. But if you have to give it a name, what would you call it? If you could give maybe a sentence or 2 describing what the project is about. Then we need at least one repository, one code repository where you have at least the front end of your website. Okay, there's a question in the chat. It says I filled out, submitted without realizing that the Canvas groups I put. You can submit again. If you made a mistake, you can just fill it out again. That's okay. So most of you will have 2 GitHub repositories, one for the front end and one for the back end. If you could provide the URL for the GitHub repositories for the front end and the GitHub repository for the back end. Okay. Also, where is this running remotely, right? Is it running on Netlify? Is it running on AWS? Right. So that's the link that would take us to the website so that we can start using your application. Right. So provide a URL here. Okay. So excuse me. So the rest of the sections will be filled out by your TA, right? So you are registering for demos that will start next Monday, and you'll be selecting a time slot, right? That either it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Friday. And so you'll meet your TA during that time slot that you chose over Zoom. And so the TA will be waiting for you, right? You'll meet, and the TA will fill out this form, right? And so together, right, the TA will, they'll select their name, and we'll start asking you questions, right? And these are the questions that they're going to ask you to give you a grade. So first, there has to be a landing page. There has to be one particular page, web page, that has to be the entry point to your website. Okay, so that's easy. That's trivial, right? And it should be mapped typically to /, right, as being the root of your website, right? Or something like /project, /home, or something meaningful. Question: do we require to deploy on a public server? Yes, it is required. If you don't, you'll lose a few points, right? It's not the end of the world, but it is required that it's running in a public server. Now, if when you first come into the website, you will be an anonymous user, meaning you have not yet logged in, right? Your application doesn't know who you are. So the website should show something that is generic, some content that is generic, right? It should be a dynamic content, right? But generic, right? So for instance, I don't know, it could be, if this is a website about news, then the latest news. If it's about events, right, then the latest events. If it's about movies, then the latest movies, right, in theaters or something like that, right? But it's generic. It's not specific to any one person, right, or user. Now, if you do log in, then the content should be tailored for that person, right? It could be something as simple as greeting the person, right? If you're logged in, you'll say, "Oh, welcome back, Alice," right? You got mail, you got messages from Bob, right? And now Charlie is following you, right? And Dan wrote an article, whatever, of people that you're following, right? So there should be something specific about the person who's logged in. It must be clear what the website is about. Right? So don't just have a generic or very sparse or just almost like a blank landing page. Make it so that it's obvious what the website is all about. The the landing page must look polished. It must look finished. It must look professional. Polished, finished, professional. Okay, it must look, wow, this looks really nice. Right? That you put a lot of effort into the landing page, right? Something that you feel proud of, right? That you'd love to share this with a potential employer, right? That I should feel proud, right, to share these URLs with my colleagues and say, "Ooh, check out what my students are working on," right? All right, so that's the landing page. So if you do log in, when you do log in, right, you would be able to go to your profile or your account, right? And then in that profile, right, you should allow the person who's logged in to be able to modify their fields, right? At least one field. The person should be able to change their email or change their address, their phone number, whatever, right? And you should be able to click save, right? And and then if you refresh the screen, you should see that the field has changed indeed. Now, if you're not logged in, meaning anonymous people can also visit your, well, other people, whether they're logged in or not. Everybody can, some other person other than you can come see your profile, but it will be rendered differently, right? So you being your profile, you should be able to edit it. You should be able to see all your information. But if it's someone else coming to your profile, then they shouldn't be able to edit your data, right? They should not be able to see everything, right? There might be some private information, right, that you might not want to show everybody. Maybe you don't want to show an email or phone number, right, or an address. So your profile needs to hide certain content, right, when you're visiting someone else's profile. You get to choose what it is that you want to hide, right? But definitely it has to be something that is hidden. What is that? Over here. It's showing up. Okay, so also in the profile should contain everything that is related to that person, right? Since our project is based on banking, anonymous users won't be able to view other users' profile. Would we lose points for this? And well, I mean, even if it's a banking, right, I should be able to see the staff, right? If I go to Bank of America, I could see the CEO, I could see who they are, right? I could see information. It doesn't have to show me their personal information, but why not? If I go to any website, I should be able to see the leadership. If I go to the UMass Northeastern University, I could see the dean, I can see everybody. Same thing for a bank, right? It's an organization. I think you mean somebody like account information. Yeah, definitely not, right? Or I guess you mean people that are clients. I should not be able to see other clients. Is that what you mean? But you should be able to see probably maybe the branch manager, right? Or the some folks that are in that at that branch. Maybe you should be able to see that, right? So how do you creating relationships between users? Are you creating relationships between maybe you have a manager and then people that work there or staff? Yeah, you should be able to see something. So what we're trying to do here is that the requirements might not make sense necessarily for all the applications that you can think of. Yeah, right. So some of the requirements might not make sense for some a particular application that you're building, right? But we're not trying to grade you based on how realistic your application is. We're trying to gauge whether you have the skills to implement what is being asked of you, right? Can you implement a content that is dynamic and it hides or shows content based on the person's permissions or whether they are so what I would do is that if you're not going to do that, then you have to substitute it for something else. Like, for instance, you have to be able to show that if I'm not logged in, right, then I can't see certain things, right? If I'm not if I don't have a particular role, then I shouldn't be able to do certain things, right? So you should have some kind of substitute for that, because that is the skill that we're trying to measure, right? Can you create content that is dynamic and it is driven by whether somebody's logged in or not, or whether they have the correct role, right? So if you have an equivalent to that, then yes, then it's okay. You don't have to specifically do that, right? Okay, so must group. Excuse me. So when you visit somebody else's screen, right, then you should be able to see everything that is related to that person, right? So if you go to a bank manager, then maybe you could see all the branches that this person manages, right? Or right, all the loans that this person has worked on, right? And so I should be able to retrieve or show all the things that this person is related to. So if this person has certain staff that that she's responsible for, then it should be listed there, right? All the people that this person is managing. Or if I'm an employee, then I should have the links to my manager, right? Or maybe my coworkers, right? Anything that I am related to, right? But so we demonstrated this in our application, in our Napster application, by creating lists of people that we were following, people that are following us, right? Albums that we have liked, okay? And so yeah, and then when you visit somebody else's account, you could see all the albums that person likes, right? Or all the reviews that they've written, right? It should be available in that profile, or somewhere centralized, right, where I can navigate. And these lists, they should constitute hyperlinks that if I click on them, right, they navigate to that thing that I am related to, right? So if these are links of followers, if I click on those links, right, it'll take me to that person that is following me, or I am following, right? Or if I liked a book, right, or I hated a movie, then I have a list of likes and hates that if I click on the links of these books or albums, right, it'll take me to the detail screen of that thing, right? All right, so that's the profile screen. Then there's a requirement of implementing a search screen, right, where you can demonstrate that you can interact with a third-party API, right? That you type some search criteria, right? It goes out, fetches data from the third-party website, right? And it responds with a result set, right? Typically as an array or an object that you iterate over, right? And you display it as a link, as a grid, as a table. You get to choose whatever you want to, how you want to render it. Then it must provide some summarized list of the results, and so these items, however you render them, they constitute links, right? Hyperlinks that if you click on them, right, or some button, whatnot, right, it navigates you to a detail screen where you can see more information, right? If you list job applications, then you could click on one job application and then it shows you more information about that job application. If you're looking for recipes, then a list of recipes. If you're looking for a list of accounts or loan products or stocks, right, and then it retrieves this from the third-party API, and then you can click on it and navigate to this third-party API to the details. Let's see, question. Could you explain 6? Can augment the results with related data in the local database? Yes. 6. Can. Oh, you mean on the in the requirements? Oh, so when it means can augment, it means that in the detail screen, I haven't gotten to detail screen. So like when I get to detail screen, I'll discuss that in a minute. Okay, so another requirement is that in the search screen, when you type your search and you press search, if you do a refresh, right? So if you do Control R, then the whole thing refreshes, re-renders. It should render whatever you had searched, right? If you had searched for a particular stock or a particular product, right? And it goes out to the server, it renders those products. If you refresh the screen, it should re-render the thing, right? The results. So it needs to be able to remember. And the only way to do that is to encode the search string in the part of the URL so that you can read from it, right? And rerun the search to repopulate it. So this is a requirement for the detail instead of, no, the search. Well, the detail as well, but the detail is trivial, right? It's not as trivial for the search, but it is a requirement for the search. Yeah, search query string, you encode the search and the search results, right, would re-render. Also, if you navigate away from the search screen and then you come back, either because you're pressing forwards or backwards, right, in your buttons, right, or your back button or forward button, it should remember, right, whatever you had searched for, right? So it should remember, survive and refresh. So on the detail screen, like someone was asking, typically you will encode the ID of what it is that you're searching as part of the URL, so that because you have enough information in the URL, if you refresh the screen, you should be able to recreate the entire screen, right, from that encoded ID at the top of the URL. So that's what I was saying, that this is trivial. On the detail screens, it's the requirement is built in, right? Yeah, must retrieve blah, blah, blah. The ID can be encoded in the URL. Must allow users to create some data about the domain, right? So meaning, when I visit the detail screen, I should be able to create some data about what I'm looking at. I should be able to say, oh, I like this, right? Or I hate it, or I want to leave a comment or a review. Okay. And then it says must provide links to users that posted data about the detail. Right. So this is what I meant by in 6 that says you can augment the data. You can augment the detail screen with information that you might already have in your database, right? So if I visit an album that other people have liked and that have reviewed it, when I visit the details screen, I should be able to see, all the people that have liked this album, that have written about it, right, that have posted something. So all this information lives in my database, right, in our database, in our local database. So there's 2 queries. One goes out to the remote server, fetching the details about the thing, right, the movie or recipe, right? It fetches the ingredients, right, and what are the steps, and all that comes from the remote API. But also, you're going to make a call to your own API saying, hey, do I have anything on this recipe? Right? And your database might respond saying, oh, yeah, Alice loved the recipe, but Bob didn't like it, right? And Charlie wrote an article about it, right? So it retrieves, using the same ID of the recipe, goes out to the server, your API, retrieves anything that you have about it, and then you populate at the bottom of the detail screen, all this information that you have in your database. Okay, and each one of these should be hyperlinks, right? That to the person who wrote about it, right? So if a person said, "Oh, I like this," their username should be next to the like button, right? So that if you click on their username, it should navigate to their profile, right? And then the requirements of what they see, we talked about it, right? Because they're visiting someone else's profile, they shouldn't be able to see everything. They should be able to see, maybe the person, maybe a thumbnail of a person, maybe first name, last name, that's it. Or it could be a little more involved, right? Depends on your website, but something should be hidden. You get to choose what is private or sensitive enough that needs to be hidden. You get to choose that. Okay, login requirements. So it should allow people to register, right? To create a new account. So the TA will ask you, right? Demonstrate that you can create an account, then log out and then log back in with this brand new user. You should be able to specify what type of user they are. It could be done by editing a user in the database, and you can change the role. But more easily, you should allow folks to choose their own role when they're registering. It could be a drop down or checkbox or something, right? What role do you want it to be? That's a little less realistic, right? Usually it's some system administrator, or there's some process that that gives you says what you are, if you're a client or you're a student by default, right? And you're only a faculty or an owner or whatever, only if some system administrator gives you that privilege, right? But to simplify it, it could just be a simple drop down or checkbox when you're registering, right? And it creates the role for you right there and then. So it must allow you to log in. So once you register, you should be able to log out and then log in using that person. Yeah, so here this requirement is a little bit based on the prior requirement, right? So there must be something that there has to be at least one screen that I can't see unless I am logged in. Okay, that it should be hidden from me, right? That even if I try to navigate to that screen, I should bump me out, right, into a sign-in screen, right, saying, nope, you don't have access to that. Sorry, no way, right? Because I don't know who you are, right? I don't know who you are, and so I'm not going to let you in. Now, even if I know who you are, there should be at least one screen that I can't go there because I don't have the correct role. Right? And we demonstrated this in our project demo, our project prototype, where we had a couple of screens that, unless you were logged in and you had the particular correct role, right, it would kick you out, right, to the sign-in screen, right? All right, so must allow access to all other pages, right? Even if you're not logged in, right? So you should have the attitude that even if you're not logged in, you should be able to use your website, right, in some meaningful way, right? That only if I need to know who you are, then I would force you to log in, right? If you ask that you want to create some content, right, because you want to create I want to leave a comment, or I want to write a post, or I want to like something, then I need to know who you are, so I would force you to log in. Otherwise, no, right? Must adapt content based on whether user is logged in or not, right? So if you're logged in, oh wait, content based on whether the user is logged in or not, for at least the homepage. Okay, yeah, we did that already. Must force login if you identify. Must allow multiple users to log in at the same time. So TA will ask you, okay, can you log in as Alice? Can you log in as Bob at the same time? And can each one, use the website independently, and the data, you only see the data for Alice or the only data for Bob, right? Simultaneously. The content should be responsive design, meaning, as you stretch or narrow the window of the browser, the content should adapt, right? So if you had, 4 columns and you make it smaller and smaller, now it should become 3, then 2, then just 1, right? So you should be able to use your website even on a phone, right, or small tablet. So the TA will ask you, right, resize the screen, right, and see if it's still usable, still workable. Also, elements should not overlap each other, unintentionally, meaning, as the screen becomes smaller and smaller and things don't fit, right, your solution should not be that things start to overlap, on top of each other, right? Right, things should either, maybe wrap, okay, or disappear so that the other can extend, okay. Also, it should not wrap unintentionally. Things should wrap because it makes sense that they wrap, right? Like, for instance, things that used to be 3 columns or 4 columns becomes 2 columns, right? And then stacked on top of each other. And then if you keep narrowing, then they'll become just 1 column, all stacked up on each other. They wrap. That's okay. That is an appropriate use of wrapping. It is expected. You shouldn't have unexpected wrapping where you're making it small, and things to start to look weird, right? Either one impinging on the other, right, or something wrapping and looking weird. Also, scroll bars should not appear unintentionally. So again, as you become smaller and smaller, content doesn't fit, right? And the browser sometimes will pop up a scroll bar, right? So that you can scroll the content left and right or top and down, which is fine, right? If it's intended, right? And it's the appropriate use, right? So for instance, if you have an image, right, that doesn't fit, and so either it should scale to fit, or you should allow them maybe to zoom in, right, where you double tap and then it zooms in, zooms out, and then you can scroll, right, from left to right, top to bottom. But the image is scrolling, right, not the whole page. So it should provide, scroll bars so that you can interact with the image. You can zoom in, zoom out, right, scroll left, pan right, pan left, right. Same thing for a table, like if a table has way too many columns and doesn't fit, right, because you have a much narrower screen, then the table should be responsive, right? I should be able to scroll the table left and right, without without adding scroll bars to the entire document, right? So that the table if it's too long, it shouldn't cause the whole document to scroll left and right, Only the table. Embedded scroll bars, right? You should avoid having one scroll bar inside of another scroll bar and they're nested. That looks awful. So don't do that. White spacing, make sure that you have generous use of padding all around. Like for instance, there's white space around this. Okay, so that I don't want to see content that is flush, right? Flush with their parent. Also make sure that you use ample margin, right, between the elements, right, so that things are spaced out. They're not flush with one another. So you don't want the content to be flush with the parent, and you don't want the elements, right, to be flush with one another. You want some separation in between. So make use of padding and margin, right, so that it looks professional. Justification, right? So try to avoid making things centered, right? Content, text, things like that. So use proper justification, right? So that if it's text, usually text is justified left, right? And if it's numbers, typically they are justified right. Okay, and also you should provide correct symbology, whether things is a currency or percentage, right, or point, right, or whatever it is, or Fahrenheit. So use the proper nomenclature for your data if you're displaying something, or currency, right? User requirements. So the requirements for undergrads is that you have to have at least 2 types of user, meaning there has to be something specific, very distinct, that one user can do while they're in role 1 that another person in role 2 in a different role they can't do because they're in separate roles, right? So there has to be something very specific that one of them can't do, which the other one can, right? So yes, we have 2 types of users. The anonymous user can access most of the website without having to log in, right? All right, so now each user needs to be able to CRUD something, create, read, update, delete something, right? You get to choose what. And then user 2 also can CRUD something, but not necessarily the same things as user 1. There has to be something specific that one can do that the other one can't, right? And that's what makes them different types of users. Let's see in the chat. Is it acceptable that user 1 has all permissions of user? Okay, like a system administrator. Sure, yes. And user 2, maybe it's just a subset. Yes, yep, you have restrictions. Actually, that's the easiest thing to do. First, create a super user, right, that can do anything. And then all the other users are just, limited versions of that super user, right, that can't do everything, can do only a subset of those things. Absolutely, yep. Okay, so data model requirement. So there has to be at least 2 domain objects. Okay, and we've discussed what a domain object is. User 1 has basic, user 2 has basic and other, user 3 has basic and other than 2. Is that okay? Yes, that makes sense, right? Yes. Yeah, you can have users capabilities to overlap, right? So there can be an overlap that 2 users might be able to do the same thing, but there has to be at least one thing that one user can do that the other one can't. Okay. And if you have 3, right, then yes, most of their capabilities overlap, but there has to be something distinct about each user, right? That only that particular user can do, right? And not any other user. Okay. So yeah, at least 2 domain objects. And what we mean by a domain object are objects that can only exist in the universe, right, of your topic, right? So if your universe is movies, then domain objects are movie theaters, movies, movie studios, props, costumes. So any noun, right, any noun that can only exist within the domain, your domain, right? That's what they're called, domain objects. They only exist. And these are non-human objects, right? There's users, there's humans, right? And then non-humans. And the non-human things are domain objects that only exist within the universe that you chose. Okay. So at least one-to-many relationship, okay, where one thing can be related to many other things. We show some examples of that last week, right? We discussed relationships between courses and modules, right? Between courses and assignments, or courses and quizzes can have questions, right? So these are all examples of one-to-many, right? One author can write many books, right? Or one faculty can create many courses. And well, usually one professor creates a course, and then that course can have many sections. That's another example of a one-to-many. But then you can have many users enrolled in the same section, and one section have but then also one user also enrolled in many sections, and then one section have many enrollments for many students, right? So the enrollment relationship is many to many. Many sections are mapped to many students, because at least two. Well, actually, yeah, two many to many. And I think that's it. That is the checklist. So the TAs will go over the checklists with you on starting next Monday, right? And so even though the due date is this Sunday at midnight, you're welcome to keep working beyond midnight, right? Up until the moment where you have to do the demo, right? I don't suggest you do that. You don't want to go all the way up to the demo and then break it somehow right before the demo, right? Because you've been tweaking it, you've been playing around with it, right? And all of a sudden stops working, right? So you're welcome to keep working up until the demo, right? And obviously, say you're demoing on Wednesday, then you still have Monday and Tuesday to keep working on it, right? But if you're demoing on Monday, then maybe you don't have that much time. Yes. And so yeah, we couldn't get everybody in the same day. So yeah, you're welcome to be working, but I don't suggest you do that. All right, so yeah, that's the project. Any questions? All right. Yeah, so I'm gonna, is there anything in particular that you would like to go over? Any particular topic or skill set, right? Or if you have any questions about your project that you might be running into, I'm just gonna run the remainder of the lecture as a office hour, right? So if you want to stick around and and ask me questions about what's going on with your project, then welcome to stay. If not, you're welcome to go. I will have another office hours tomorrow morning at 8. 8? Yes. But other than that, I'll just stick around for office hours.
Hey, Professor, thanks. Can I ask a quick question? Again, regarding like domain objects. I'm still like wrapping my head around it. So I just want to check. So my domain is movies. So
Yeah.
one domain object could be movies. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then like another one that I'm thinking of having is basically the user rating from my database. So the TMDB rating, or like my external API rating. If like that could be, it's essentially equivalent to like a Rotten Tomatoes rating for the movie.
So are you storing that as a separate collection?
So I guess that's my question. Right now, it's like a field on the movie details object.
Yeah. So if it's a feature, if it's a field, then it's not a domain object.
It's just
a field. If it's a separate collection, then yes, it is a domain object.
If I arbitrarily extract it from my external API and store it separately and fetch it from my own database separately.
Yeah. So what is it just a number rating?
Yeah, it's a percentage or like a score. Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say that's a domain object.
Okay, and if I go out to another API, like to Rotten Tomatoes, which is separate from my like movie database API,
okay,
and fetch their like user score, their Rotten Tomatoes rating, and store that separately, is that?
So Rotten Tomato also has other things other than just a number. It has a small little blurb, the consensus, where it's a maybe just a paragraph or two that summarizes the sentiment. Then that would be a domain object.
Okay. And we had previously talked about like the casting of a movie being a domain object. And so it's sort of the same example. I'm just wondering if it for any reason is different where right now it's just a field on my movie data.
Yeah,
or
I
my
mean,
movie details.
casting, usually that would be a relationship. It's just relating users to movies. But casting is only exists in the universe of movies. So I'll take that. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
It says, do we have to use the reducer to get the current login user? Can we just hit user? We're not going to take a look at your implementation. So if you want to hit the user, the current user every time you navigate to a screen, that's up to you. We're not going to force you to use a reducer. Although I think it would simplify things quite a bit. Right. Yeah, go ahead, Helen. Go ahead.
Give me one sec. Okay. So I have some questions. I have the am I able to share my screen?
Yes, I believe so.
So yeah. It seems like need to enable the sharing first.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it seems like I wasn't able to share my screen.
Oh no. Oh, let me see.
Maybe I need to enable.
Oh, maybe I need to stop sharing. Okay.
Yeah. So for this one, I have my back end was running okay, and then my front end is here. So when I taking this link to go to my here, so let's see, and then I will have some errors here. And when I tried to do sign in, I wasn't able to sign in. And eventually I was getting the course error. And I have been trying to figure out this error for over 2 days. I have no idea. Maybe can get some guidance from professor.
Okay. Let's see. Can I take control?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let's see. What's going on here? Okay, so sign in.
Yeah, it will take some time to load, but it will eventually fail for the sign in.
Sign in. And this is going to unrender sign in 4000 node server. A6 dash node. And so this is Netlify. Sign in is going out to your server. Can we try Chrome instead, please?
Oh yeah, sure. Chrome is here. Give me one second. I think I have it open. So if I try to do this one on the Chrome. Um,
Okay, so let me try it. Let me try it. Network. So
think-
the sign in went pending. So is this server even running? Let me copy that.
Mhm.
That's the server. So the server looks like it's asleep. It's not awake.
Oh,
So this has to fix that first, right?
mhm.
What do you use? So that's render.js. Can we go to render.js?
Yeah, I use render.
Okay. Okay. There's render. And let's log in. How do you log in?
Oh, I have my render actually here.
No. Let's stay here.
Oh,
What do you
okay. I use GitHub, I think.
okay, can you log in? Okay, you logged in. So it's this one, right?
Yes.
Okay, so it's up and
Then
running.
if you do API the /users, it can show the database successfully.
Why is this not? Oh, 4,000? What is this? There is no 4,000. Yeah, it's working. I think you have the in your see the 4,000?
Uh-huh.
It's wrong. See, there is no.
Oh, so how can I
That's only locally, right? Only locally.
yes.
So probably you have it in your Netlify.
Mm,
Netlify. What's Netlify? Is this it?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
So I also use my GitHub.
GitHub. Okay, GitHub. So do you have that configured as an environment variable?
Uh,
Is it this
cool.
one?
I think so, yes.
Configuration. You have a environment variables? Yeah, you don't, right?
Oh,
What's this? Yeah, no. Yeah, so you have it hard coded probably. You have it hard coded this in your code.
so
So you have to fix that, right? So remove the 4,000, colon 4,000.
okay. So see.
And then redeploy.
Gotcha. So forgot where I put my 4,000. So
So if
that
you
should be here.
and so this Canvas React, right? So let's so this is
Well, it should be probably.
data source users. Wait, is this React?
No, I make a separate folder to do the whole thing.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's my A6 actually.
Okay, so yeah, see 4,000.
Oh, get rid of the 4,000.
Yeah. Okay. Then you want to redeploy? You want to commit and deploy?
Okay, sure. I can do that later. Do you think that's the only reason that makes it
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Because I don't want to take the whole.
It's an important reason.
Oh, okay, cool. I can try that on. And for the so first I have to so check if it works on locally. Yeah, some network.
Yeah, you have localhost 3000. See that? That's wrong too. No, go back. You see?
Okay.
So again, always have open your, go back. Always have open your inspector
Mhm.
and your network. And so sign in. It looks right. And so course, so is it refer 3000? So do you have in your code, where's your server?
I think it's my app.js.
Oh, this is it? Okay. All right. So I see origin, you only have netlify listed, right? But it if you had localhost, then it might work. So origins, I think this can be an array. I'm not sure. You have an array. And
I think that we can do. Can we also put a star so it can be
oh,
anything?
you can't be a star when you have credentials true.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Oh,
So,
makes more
so
sense.
try redeploying that, see if that works too.
Okay.
Oh,
Do
wait, I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna work because it's HTTP. It needs to be
yeah.
HTTPS, and locally you cannot run HTTPS. So I don't think you're gonna be able to. I don't think you're gonna be able to try it because locally you're running HTTP, but the server is HTTPS. Maybe I don't know. Try it.
Oh, so like this. Do I need to run locally first?
Well, no, because running locally, yeah, yeah, definitely you could run it locally, of course.
And then let me try this one as well. So connect successfully and try this.
Yeah, but is this going to try connect to the remote one or the local one?
Um, that's a good question.
Yeah,
So
going out to the remote one. See, that's going out to the remote one.
yes.
So that you should have it configured, right? So that when you're running locally, it all uses all local. Right. So here, yeah, you have it hard coded. See that? It's always hard coded. So this is supposed to be a process.env. So that locally it would use this, and remotely it would use that.
So we have to
You
eventually
had it
get
as a process env, right?
uh-huh.
So in your env, you would have yeah, see? So here it would always be like that, right? Like that. And and so, but in wait, which env is this?
This one was for the
Oh, this is for the server. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. You have both in the same directory.
mhm.
So you can't have an env separate. So yeah, typically you have these separate projects, and this env, there would be one env for the front end and another env for the back end. But you have a mix, so I don't know what that does.
Oh, great question. So then I have to separate them
Well,
for
yeah, or you know, declare them as environment variables, like in your bash profile. that would be the alternative. It would read from the bash profile. I think that was one of the options that I suggested.
Okay, so do you think it might help if I separate the front end and the back end in a different folder?
Yeah, I mean that was the intention, right? For that you would have two different projects.
And then they will have their own E and V for each of them.
Yes.
Okay, I see it. Maybe I'm starting from there.
I don't know. I don't know if it's worth the effort. The EMVs are only as a convenience so that you don't have to do what you're doing here. Oops, what'd you do? Okay, that you have to remember to comment out, comment, uncomment, comment, uncomment, right?
Yes, that's why I have
So,
been.
and then you forget, right? Oh, wait a minute, what environment am I in, right? And so
Yes.
now you comment out the wrong one, and so the point of using environment variables is that once you configure them, once they're working, you don't have to do it again.
Mhm.
And then things run correctly in the right environment.
I see. So
So you don't have to do that. Comment, uncomment.
yeah, so may I ask like how many points I will get deducted if it doesn't render well on the netlib file? Because right now I'm calculating, should I focus it more on my final project of this
Oh,
ASIC?
how many points if it's not running remotely?
Yes.
I don't know, maybe 3, 5 points, something like that.
Oh, then not worthwhile. I'm gonna submit
Not worth it.
what I have so far because this thing taking so much time so far. Yeah, so thank you so much for the suggestion.
Good luck.
Other students ask questions, and if I have more questions, I will ask probably the final project. Thank you.
Good luck. Anyone else?
Hey, Professor.
Hi, what's up?
I think I emailed you about the regrading for the homework 2, the email, and then you asked me to come to the opening hours. Is it okay?
Yeah,
You can do it now?
let's take a look at it.